Good evening. Welcome to Binging the Force with Rocky Mountain Fan Force. Today I am joined by Shane, Michael, and Jonathan, and Dale is also joining us. Today we're going to be watching episode 1 of Tales of the Jedi, Life and Death. This is the backstory on baby Ahsoka. As a reminder, you can find us on, follow the scroll at the bottom. You can find us on YouTube, Twitch, and other platforms. As a reminder, also next week, February 18th, we're going to be doing an online streaming where we're going to get together and talk about Star Wars stuff that's going on. So please join us on that, and you can find a link in the events page for the Rocky Mountain Fan Force on Facebook. And next week we're going to be doing episode 1 of the
James, we
James joined us late. James joined us right before the live stream.
Oh, I did.
Record scratch.
So yeah, our apologies, James. Your script was fantastic up until that point. So actually, I think what we decided is we're going to actually dive into The Mandalorian season 1.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll binge the Mando and have a good time doing that. So before we get to, so should we do introductions as well of ourselves? Dale, did you have a question you wanted to ask us so we can introduce who we are and give a little spice and flavor?
Yes, sir. My question is, what's your name? What's your reason for being here?
And who do you want
Jonathan,
to
you're
start
up.
Oh, okay. Sure. My name's Jonathan. My reason for being here, well, when a man and a woman love each other very much.
Seriously?
45 years ago. Yeah. That's why I'm here.
You
on this podcast.
Right. And then one more reason for tonight specifically, I know this is the first we ever saw Ahsoka, but this is her, the basis of her origin story before the Clone Wars scene with a young Ahsoka and Plo Koon. What was your first thoughts when you saw Ahsoka in the theater back in 2008? What did you think of the character?
Well, for me, I would say it was very strange, and but I thought that okay, Star Wars, I'll give you a try, see where we're going here. We can give Anakin a Padawan, that's cool. But I must admit, I was not on board with the bikinis, so I thought that was a little strange.
Well, see, Jonathan, I'd have to say that I felt a little weak that they introduced Padawan to Anakin Skywalker. He wasn't even a master, and yet he's already taken on a Padawan. That's bad writing, I think. Honestly, they should have.
Obi-Wan wasn't a master when he took on Anakin.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe hence the reason he became Darth Vader, right?
Well, I guess that portends bad omens for Ahsoka. Then, if that's the path you got to take.
Yeah, right. That's true. Well, I can't wait for the Ahsoka series.
Well, I think Shane just volunteered himself to go next.
That's fair. That's fair. So on the vein that Dale is talking about there, I was first introduced to Ahsoka in that Clone Wars movie, and honestly, at that time, there's a real lack of new Star Wars content because the Clone Wars hadn't started yet, and we're after Episode 5, so I was desperate for anything for Star Wars at that point, and I was totally willing to take on a Padawan and a baby Jabba the Hutt type character is really cool, and I think back to the days of the RMFF when it was I hate to call it in the heyday, right, but doing the theater troops and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun, and some good memories are associated to that character. Also going to like celebrations and seeing Ashley Eckstein, there is just really cool. So I think she's a great character. And honestly, I'm so happy that Rosario Dawson is taking on that character now because, man, she's given it new life and she's such a great actress. And I can't wait to see where it goes.
Cool. James, how about you? Did you think the Ahsoka character would have the legs that she has, or That's a weird way to put it, but you think we'd be talking about Ahsoka 14 years later after meeting her in the Clone Wars movie?
I didn't think we would, but she's grown a lot with me. I know there's a lot of complexities to her, and of course, seeing the animated series with her struggles with the Jedi Order and deciding to eventually leave. I don't know. I think she's a very interesting character. There's a lot to explore there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think Star Wars can do a good job when it comes to character development, showing the growth of a character over a long period of time. So, like, we did get to see Ahsoka during Clone Wars, but then you got to see, the evolution of her as a character and kind of where she is in this galaxy in Rebels. And then you got to see, kind of where, if you read books, got to read, explore the character more in her own novel. So I really appreciate that. She's one of Dave Filoni's favorite characters, and you get to see lots of different stages of her life going back to the very beginning, like this episode.
Very cool. Michael, having not watched all of Ahsoka's story through animation to live action, what excites you as an older generation Star Wars fan passing this to the next generation, something that the next generation can get behind as far as this character is concerned?
I mean, it's funny that we went straight to the Clone Wars movie because, yeah, I was at the screen when the Rocky Mountain Fan Force all got together and saw it for the first time in theater, which was great to really experience this new format of Star Wars, with the CGI animation and everything, and brand new characters and really exploring an era in between two movies and everything. I mean, I don't remember myself having a big thought about Ahsoka in terms of a character. To me, it's all about good Jedi action, and it was another Jedi. So it's like, okay, another Jedi to focus on. But it's funny that I realized, like, my daughter, who's 11 or just about to turn 12 in like 3 days, she has prided herself on seeing all the movies and everything. And we both realized while kind of looking through stuff, kind of relating to, we were rewatching some of Tales of the Jedi because of us doing it here on the show, and in kind of bouncing back and forth between that and Clone Wars, I realized that she didn't even know that the Clone Wars movie existed. And so she's seen Ahsoka through a lot of other shows, through Mandalorian, through Tales of the Jedi now, through some episodes of Clone Wars and Rebels, but she had never seen the movie. So we watched that actually last weekend. And she loved it because she's that exact same age, because I think Ahsoka's supposed to be around 11, 12, in the movie, and she loved it. She thought it was great. I mean, she's always loved Ahsoka as a character, but in particular, her starting out as what I would call, like, more so than I think she even was through her later appearances, was pretty much a rebellious, annoying teenager, or tween.
Those exist, yes.
And I, as her dad, could definitely relate, and my daughter could definitely relate.
Well, I can definitely relate now. I mean, my oldest is 14, so yeah, I'm going through that. But I can also relate on having a strong female character that's a lead type character that is other than Rey that I think my daughters can gravitate to, and that's definitely been Ahsoka.
Yeah, and that's a big deal for my daughter, and she did love Rey for that reason. I mean, she really, like, when we try to find things to watch, I mean, she will definitely always prefer a strong female lead character than just about anything else, in particular in sci-fi and fantasy. That's really the thing that will draw her in. So having Ahsoka as a kind of through line character for her has been absolutely great. So
and that's really, I think, you hear a lot in society nowadays about wokeness in movies and what Disney's doing, and I disagree with that. I feel like they're just trying to be more inclusive to people, and I think a lot of that has gone to my daughters and really them growing up with strong female role models, because I think back to what the 80s and 90s and really what the strongest female characters back then, what Ripley I can really think of, and who else? I mean, maybe Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween movies, but very few and far between. Original Princess Leia, but very few. And now I feel like it's expanded so much that I love what Disney is doing with Star Wars and Marvel.
Yeah, and I won't even use the W word to just say that having other people represented in other voices as lead characters is never a bad thing. So
I agree completely.
Yeah, and it wasn't always that way. Like, I mean, if we have to talk about the Clone Wars movie, unfortunately we will. But she didn't start off as like a main strong female character, right? She started off as annoying. I don't think there's a big percentage of fandom that didn't like her when she first came out because they're like, who is this character calling Anakin Skywalker Sky Guy, right? Like, that really rubbed people the wrong way. Who is this little whippersnapper that's annoying? But it's like, that's how Luke was in the first Star Wars movie too, right? He was initially annoying. You don't come fully formed into Star Wars. You have to have your origin story and your progression through, the adventures that you have. And, I think it's great for Ahsoka to have those, and fandom through this growth, this evolution, really latched onto her as really liking and making her one of the more popular characters.
I mean,
on Celebration, you see lots of people wearing her costume, which is fantastic. And even behind the scenes, right? Ashley Eckstein is a fantastic person who, as a voice for Star Wars and for fandom and for her universe line, to really bring more female voices and female empowerment and female storytelling into Star Wars. And it's been long overdue, and I think that overall fandom really loves it. So I think this episode is really a love letter to all the people who really like the Ahsoka character.
good cue.
Yeah,
Segue.
Good segue.
I always thought it was really interesting that Ahsoka was paired with Anakin. Basically, these are two rebels within the Jedi Order that are not going to listen, and clearly they're going to go very different paths than what a Jedi would do, right? I mean, obviously, even Ahsoka, even I just think it's a really interesting pairing. They're just I don't know whose idea it was to get them together. It's probably not a good idea. I don't know if Yoda made that assignment or what, but
I think it was Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Anakin, if you rewatch episode 2, which we will at some point, Anakin getting a rebellious, annoying teenage Padawan, that's just
payback. A little bit of payback. Yeah.
It's a precursor to the child he never got to raise.
Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and lead in from there into our episode of the week. That would be including the dating on it. Takes place in 36 BBY, so 36 years before the Battle of Yavin. Tales of the Jedi, Episode 1, Life and Death. So we do have a difference here. We do not have a ship coming in. As I was kind of mentioning last week, the preponderance of the amount of Star Wars that starts with seeing a ship zooming into a planet. We start off on the planet and we never leave this planet, which is unusual for a Star Wars show.
For prequels, right? Prequels are filled with ships taking off and ships landing. Yeah.
So what do you guys think about this being one of the very first, this is even before episode 1, right?
Yep. This is I believe episode 1 is 32 BBY, so 4 years before episode 1.
So this is really a prequel. Even this whole
Totally.
series is, it's sort of crazy to think about.
Yeah, up until this point, we've been going in chronological order. We won't be after this week. We're going to probably start skipping around more and more. But I'm just including the BY, ABY, and BBY just for context there.
So does that mean that trade routes are being taxed or not being taxed at this point? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that is the important thing. So we established here, I guess, the planet is, the language was Togruti. Dale, you're the expert on that kind of stuff. Is that the name of the planet that Ahsoka comes from?
I believe so. Yeah, I don't think we're ever told otherwise. Togrutans come from Togruta and speak Togrutan as well. So yeah.
And so the big thing here is we're seeing literally the birth of baby Ahsoka. I don't know that we've ever seen, other than Luke and Leia, are the only other characters where we get literally their origin story from birth on. Again, I'm gonna turn to you guys as better experts on this. This is our other head tails race that because I know we had the 2 head tail race, and this is the 3 head tail race.
The
right?
Twi'leks.
Yeah, Twi'leks was the two-head
Twi'leks,
tail.
the
This is
green,
now
yeah.
the three-head tail.
Yeah,
From,
because
Rebels
Bib
and
Fortuna
stuff. There's a Twi'lek in there.
Bib Fortuna is a Twi'lek, right? And then also, what's the blue Jedi? What's her name?
I'm counting on someone else to know that.
Also,
Ayla
also a
Secura.
Twi'lek, same
Yeah,
species.
Ayla Secura.
Yep.
So I think we jump ahead like about a year here.
Yeah, it's a rural
Right.
village, but they still have droids, right? Like,
Interesting
Yeah,
that
it's
they
interesting
are using
that
droids.
it's like an agrarian society, but they have as we find out later, they have laser pistols and they
Yeah.
definitely have technology. They've just chosen
Yeah.
to live more agrarian.
yeah.
One thing I like in this episode is the animation, and specifically calling out the Leiku animation, how it's like vibrant and kind of like floats around and whatnot. And every time I see the clips for the Ahsoka series coming up, I look at the Leiku on Rosario Dawson, and it just looks like a big piece of foam. I know they made it smaller, but it just it's like I feel like cosplayers have done it better than that costume that we haven't even got to see in action yet.
Yeah. So one thing that bothered me when I first saw this episode, I only saw it once, is why would this mother be taking her daughter to go hunting with her? I mean, wouldn't that be an inherent risk to begin with?
Dude,
I mean, I think obviously what they're establishing is that the society is very female centric. I mean
that's fair, but I mean, as a mother, I would think I wouldn't want to take my child.
yeah, that seems like child endangerment to me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, cultural norms. I mean, it seems like the cultural norm here is that the women go out hunting. The women are in charge of that, and so in terms of their respect for the land and respect for nature and everything, they bring. I'm guessing that they bring the daughter into it as quickly as possible, as soon as possible, to get her in sync with nature and the land.
And the spirits too, right? Like
that's
talk
kind of how I
about
read
spirits, but not they talk about spirits, but not the force too. You know, like there's
No.
definitely like still that separation and like how they frame theology in Star Wars is always shifting. It seems like.
Yeah, no, for here it's definitely more, again, probably in line with the being an agrarian society, that their two core things seem to be being in sync with nature, being in sync with the land, being in sync with the other life forms, and also females kind of are in charge, you know.
So it definitely feels like more of a tribalistic type of society.
Yeah.
Do you think on this planet, you know, is this the origin planet, and are there many tribes on this planet, do you think? Or?
Yeah, it's a good question, because clearly the older woman was in charge of the tribe. She's like the elder of the tribe, but is that necessarily the case in all tribes on this planet? Who knows?
Yeah,
there could definitely be a
or
diversity.
they just offshoot.
Yeah, that's what's interesting about Star Wars. Sometimes they make these planets and there's just one culture, which just doesn't make a lot of sense to me on one planet. They kind of, I don't know, simplify it seems like.
It's part of buying into Star Wars, though. Each planet has one type of ecosystem as well.
Well, and then Naboo was what really broke the mold on that, and they made a big deal about that being different. That Naboo had two cultures. That that it had the
that's true. They had the
Gungans and then the underwater people. So it did have two main life forms coexisting on that planet. But they made a point of that being unusual.
Yeah, I guess the human race is screwed here on Earth.
Now, if I walked along and I saw like this huge plant with this spore on top, I'd be like, I probably shouldn't touch that. That looks like it's gonna be dangerous.
You've seen Alien, right?
A fungus.
I mean, clearly she knows what she's doing. Clearly she's a very experienced hunter. She's very experienced in being out there, and she knew what would make her laugh and everything like that, and what she would enjoy. But yeah, it's a little out there. And especially if the objective is to be hunting, you'd think that would be something that would scare off the animals.
Right? Go for stealth, not.
But maybe not. I mean, they're just right there in that opening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually the third Ahsoka. The first two hailed those spores from that flower. She didn't learn.
Or just that a lot of the female children never survive, because if they get taken out hunting at 1 year old, a lot of them never make it back.
True.
Yeah.
And she's like quiet, right? Like if this was my kid at this age, he'd be like babbling and crying, like, "Wow,
Yeah.
look!"
But the thing is, Ahsoka is strong with the Force. Do you think when she'd get some sort of Force feeling that like this creature's gonna die here or something like that? You'd think. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, I think that's what we're seeing here is the first stirrings of even her knowing that,
Yeah.
We're seeing the origin of her kind of Force feelings.
So at what age would she join the Jedi Order? Because you see,
well, yeah, I mean, definitely when we get to the end of the episode, I mean, that's a strong discussion point.
Yeah.
I mean,
They take them very young.
Yeah, kind of
usually
jumping
very
ahead.
young, sometimes from birth.
so is that sort of almost a tragedy in a way that she's taken away from her tribe and her society, right?
Yeah, because it's just like, as we get to the end of the episode, I mean, we'll talk about it. I mean, it's this great, thing that a Jedi's been found. But I mean, is that something as a parent you'd really be happy about? Because it means, in all likelihood after this episode, she probably never saw her parents ever again.
Yeah.
And most Jedi's probably do not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is another thing. The Jedi stealing babies from their parents.
Yeah,
But in canon, they keep that very positive. We don't get to hear the story of the parents that were regretting letting be a Jedi. It's a celebrated thing by the tribe and
Sure.
from
The Jedi.
And you would assume it's probably. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to just say, like, in the ideas of Jedi and around the galaxy, and after episode 3 and into episode 4, how they always talk about no one remembers Jedi, right? I get it. It's like 40 years or something like that. But come on, I mean, people remember history from hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. So why, I mean, and if they were celebrated to become Jedi, why was it forgotten throughout the galaxy?
Well, and I'm not sure if it would be celebrated, but I think one thing that we could probably assume is that membership in the Republic for every planet probably involves one of the rules or laws of being a member planet of the Republic is, if a child is determined to be a Jedi, they go to the Order, period. There's no discussion about it. I mean, that child is taken away immediately.
Yeah, are the Jedi showing up at your doorstep? Is that like your kid getting a letter to go to Hogwarts? Like you're excited for them, but you're still a Muggle on the outside.
Well, but I mean, they come back at the end of every year at Hogwarts. They go back home.
Right.
So what would your reaction be if you have your child on the ground and this giant like tiger thing is coming up to you? I mean, I think I'd be about ready to lose it.
Yeah,
Like,
but again, what we're purely, I mean, a lot of this episode is about the fact that her mom knows what she's doing. Her mom is an experienced hunter. She knows what she's doing here. She's fully in command of the situation as well as can be.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I think that tiger thing would have ate her right away. I think that's a little unrealistic. But
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, that's the thing. I think we can assume that she's been doing this since she was like 1 year old and was brought out there in the little, carrier and stuff like that. So, I mean, she's been doing this her entire life. She knows what she's doing.
Do you think the mom might have some force ability? Right?
No, I think that's the culture.
That
I mean, I would just think that this is how these people are raised. I mean, and I think if nothing else, it helps inform the strength of character of Ahsoka that we see later on. She comes from very hardy stock.
Right. It's hardy stock is right. I don't think there's meant to be any force ability with her because it's a surprise to everyone when they announce that for the baby at the end.
Yeah.
So I was waiting for some Grogu thing to happen right there, like lifting up the cat in the air.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
Yoink.
And the cat's just thinking lunch. I mean, the cat's like easy pickings. Here's lunch for this afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah, my family was questioning why the cat didn't just pick up that Kaibuck off the ground and run off with it. But it's like, well, you can always come back for the dead one, but the baby's not going to
such a
fight.
smaller.
And this one's live. This one's live and fresh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you do have the villagers shooting at you. You got to make the quick decision, right? And
Right.
Here, Kaibuck may require some dragging over there.
True. Yeah. And lighter, easier pickup. Easier lunch. and she's just babbling. Again, yeah, I mean, unnaturally calm for an infant, I would say, but
Yeah.
But again, and maybe that's the kids of this
The
planet
Force.
maybe are just more naturally calm. So
Well, I would say that's almost her channeling the Force through this, with this creature in nature, right? Where she's calm, she knows she has it under control because she can communicate with this creature, right? That's what I think. I mean, that's almost like what Rey was able to do, like heal that snake, right, in episode 9.
Right. So
I mean, here we're seeing natural empathy.
Yeah. The markings on their face, that born with that, not face paint. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're born with that, and then they grow and change as she gets older.
Yeah, the white spots, yes, I would say are a natural part of them. Because I mean, she had it when they showed her in the first shot of her as a baby.
Right.
I love that image there. I love that image so much. I made it the poster image for this episode. So.
That's cool. That reminds me of end of Book of Boba Fett with Grogu touching the Rancor, right? That's a very reminiscent type of moment, right?
Well, and that's the thing is a Jedi is in sync with all living things. The Force binds us and connects us. Meanwhile, the rest of the village is like, let's go get this baby.
Right.
So did Filoni wrote this episode? Did he direct it as well?
I don't remember if he directed as well. I know he's the showrunner for the whole series. So
yeah, I know Janina Gavankar is the voice of Ahsoka's mother.
Which was interesting.
Doing something besides Iden Versio in Star Wars, so that was a nice change.
I think BSG for her, but yeah.
Okay.
There's, speaking of writing there, talking about Dave Filoni writing this one, there's not a ton of dialogue in here.
No, almost no dialogue in it at all.
Yeah, it's quiet, it's chill.
Maybe writing this, whatever you want to call that, alien saber-tooth tiger, It's like, something is going on here. This is not normal.
Yeah.
Well, she's got a new
gets the writing credit, not the directing credit, but that kind of makes sense. It's an Ahsoka story. It's his baby.
Yeah, it's his creation. He's definitely been intimately involved with Ahsoka from the beginning.
His baby, almost literally here, yes.
Yes. Yep. And I love the bowing of the head, almost like presenting the child.
Very Lion King.
Yep.
Well, she wants to know if she can keep this saber-tooth tiger. They want to put a leash on it and keep it in their backyard.
He's my friend now.
Right?
What would have been cool is if they would have had an owl or something just in the background, just as a precursor to like her future or something like that. I think that would have been
in reality, every person who has a rifle is shooting that thing right now for the next 6 years.
Yeah. Well, it could have just been a trick from the cat. Be like, okay, I'm going to get them all to lower their weapons, and then when they put them down,
it's not like it's not going to try to eat someone else tomorrow.
Right.
Well, it's like a velociraptor. There's other cats coming in from the side.
Do the Chris Pratt dinosaur stop thing,
Here's the big moment. How could this be Jedi? Ahsoka is Jedi.
So she must know about Jedi.
Yeah.
She read about them on the HoloNet.
See, now she's gonna fall asleep because she's excited.
Well, like I said, if she's a leader, she's the leader of a tribe. I would think that's a thing that people know, and especially if you're a member of Republic World. Like I said, my expectation would be that if you're a member of Republic World, giving a child who's discovered to be Jedi to the Jedi is part of the rules.
Yeah, I doubt that they would keep like a Force-sensitive child from the Jedi, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of known throughout the galaxy that this is their destiny now.
Yeah.
Presumably there'd be some sort of communication technology where they'd be relaying that to the Senate, in the Republic, leaders, and at some point, and then a Jedi would get dispatched, with a midichlorian counter and as soon as the midichlorian count is taken, the kid never sees their parents again.
I don't know if that'd be a good thing.
The village leader should get like a finder's fee, right? For cool.
Well, yeah, hopefully the leader, she doesn't run into one of the Night Sisters, like Mother tells in a grocery store, and be like, "Oh, I've got a Force sensitive in my village. If you want to come over and take a look."
Yeah, I mean, do we even know if her planet is a member world of the Republic? I don't know if we even know that. I mean, during Clone Wars, do we ever go to her home planet?
Yeah.
No.
During this time frame, I mean, obviously Palpatine is alive, but would Darth Plagueis still be alive?
Oh, you're getting too deep for me there. I know the names, but
because that was Palpatine.
Darth Plagueis is around during Episode 1, so yeah.
Oh, okay.
All the way.
And if it's because Palpatine, Sheev, right? Is it Sheev Palpatine? Always was talking about how he had to essentially overcome his master. And I've always wondered, when that happened, in the timeline before.
I know there's the book on that. I actually started trying to read that. I think I got like 50 pages into the Darth Plagueis novel.
Yeah. That's something I really would like to explore more. That what's that new series coming up? Acolyte?
Yeah.
And that's going to be taking place like 100 or 200
Yeah, about 100 years before. Yeah, we talked about that a little last week, that I was definitely looking forward to that, to seeing more of the kind of height of Jedi kind of society there before really the Senate and the Jedi kind of started their fall. And I think that's what we're supposed to see in the beginnings of there in the Acolyte 100 years earlier.
Well, maybe they'll answer some of these questions of how, Jedi, how children were chosen to become Jedi, at a young age, and why and how. That'd be fun if they went into that those themes and explored that a little bit.
Or it could
Maybe
be
we'll find out how the Sith are chosen. That'll be interesting.
If you delve into children being taken from their parents, your storyline could start to get a little problematic. So
yeah, it's dark.
Especially on Disney Plus.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they don't do like, they do the big moment of Jedi, Ahsoka is Jedi, but they don't do like 1 month later as, this child who the parents loved and the whole village, is so excited and survived and everything, gets yanked away from them, for the rest of their lives.
And they're like, all right.
And then the cat comes back and eats them.
Oh, sad.
Oh man, that went dark fast, Dale.
Yeah, well, maybe the saber-toothed tiger cat, then it finds their new baby, Ahsoka.
Ahsoka, B-Soka, E-Soka. So the mom started out with A, right? So she has backups on names. Always.
I mean, going back to what we were talking about earlier in the episode, when you guys were like just questioning the whole thing of taking a baby out, 1 year old. I mean, maybe just like losing kids young is just a part of life there.
So you better have your naming system in place, because you never know. Maybe one of your kids will be a Jedi.
So I guess that, taken into perspective, getting taken away to be a Jedi and have a great life is, a higher on the level of, things that can happen to a greedy child,
But is being a Jedi truly a great life when you have to give up everything?
We can have a lot of conversations about that. Yeah. I mean,
we're putting that for next time.
Well, any other thoughts about this episode?
I thought it was well done. I like the tone of it. It was very reminds me of like Japanese poems or something, kind of like slow, or like, kind of Akira Kurosawa, slow, methodical, not a lot of dialogue, very focused on characters, and it definitely evokes like a lot of those original things that Star Wars was based on. So I really appreciated it for that.
See,
and I mean, you guys were making fun of the kind of cotton ball, plants or whatever that she popped up with, but I mean, the animation quality on that, I mean, man,
it's come a long ways. Yeah.
I would say the animation is great. To me, the story felt a little flat overall. I felt a little boring and almost unneeded in a way. Not in a bad way, just I felt like it was almost filler, and I felt like it was almost repetitive to what we're seeing in Mandalorian with Grogu in some aspects. Not in a negative way, but I just felt like there was some repetitiveness to it. And I've definitely seen Star Wars better, but I mean, overall, I love Ahsoka as a character, but this episode just didn't hit it for me.
I mean, I think if Baby Grogu taught Lucasfilm anything, it's hard to go wrong with a cute kid. It's definitely worked for them. So.
Yeah.
I think it's building a little bit of background on some of these characters like Count Dooku, and which we've watched, and it gives them a little bit more to their character. It gives a little bit of substance, I think, to their character and why they made the choices they made. It, I kind of like that aspect.
Yeah, with
Like I said,
it being
I like that it informs us, to see where Ahsoka comes from, to see, this character who I believe has probably been on screen more than almost any other character in Star Wars at this point, thanks to Dave Filoni. Yeah. I mean, to get, that first, literally her first moments and her literal beginnings of how she first became, recognized as a Jedi.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I'm really excited for the Ahsoka series coming up with Rosario Dawson. I think it's going to be fantastic. I mean, just that little bit that we've seen in Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett just has me just so excited to see where it's going, honestly.
So that's going to have a young Luke, right?
Hopefully, to some extent. I mean,
Return of the Jedi Luke and Grogu.
I would assume that series will have it. I don't think anything's really been confirmed. I've heard rumors of Ezra being part of it and Thrawn, but other than that, I'm not 100% certain.
Yeah, I mean, with all of these series now taking place kind of contemporaneously in this whole 5-year Mandalorian period after Return of the Jedi, and any of that's possible for any of that type of crossover. So,
I think this story we saw tonight, it was good as a short. There wasn't enough content there to make it, a 22-minute Clone Wars episode, or so I think it was just a little piece of filling in the gaps, the same as the Clone Wars fills in gaps and questions you have about the prequels. These shorts are meant to just give you just a little bit more information about Clone Wars ideas, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if people, were really crying out for a baby Ahsoka episode.
No.
But it's fun, it's cute, and it gives them that chance to kind of revisit, a favorite character, and just give a little bit more that kind of flavor to who she is and who she's always been here. She's never been this way since she was a baby.
Yeah, as much as I like the Star Wars Visions, where we got all these animation studios telling their own story, none of those were canon. They were all just these one-off stories. And the thing I like about this is, yes, it's kind of a one-off story, but it fits in with your existing canon, I guess.
Yeah, it stays within the Star Wars universe. That Vision series was just weird. I didn't particularly like it. It was very scattered, just very random.
I clicked around. I didn't watch all of them. I only watched
put Star Wars on it. That's what it kind of felt like to me.
Yeah.
I thought some of them were interesting, but like I said, I didn't watch all of them comprehensively. I kind of jumped around and picked and choose on some of them. Similar to how I've done Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah, it's similar to what I've done in Clone Wars and Rebels. I haven't touched on that other series yet. I'm very picky and choosy when it comes to my Star Wars, but I definitely love Jedi lore and stuff like that.
So I'm going to depart from talking about the episode to just comment on the fact that good news is, we've stayed up on both Facebook and Twitch. Neither of them kicked us off for showing that video, so that's a good thing. So we'll keep live streaming there. We did not actually get any chat from people watching on the live streams, but I've now learned something new about Twitch, in that we've obviously tricked something enough on Twitch in terms of being there as a valid thing after 2 weeks of doing it, that I've got chat coming in from people trying to sell us stuff from bots.
Yeah, I saw that.
We're legit. We got spam.
Yeah, we made it. We've arrived.
But hopefully at some point people will actually start watching live and we'll start getting some comments. And when we do, I can actually bring them into the interface here and kind of answer questions if anyone has any questions while we're live.
Well, this was a lot of fun, having a conversation on an episode and sort of discussing it.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Shane. Join us again, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And we appreciate everybody out there who's watching this not live, but on video. And so if you're interested in checking out the Rocky Mountain Fan Force, feel free to find us on Facebook We also do live, and we're doing virtual meetings. So if you want to learn more about who we are and maybe even be a part of this podcast in the future, come check us out.
Yep. All the information's down on the bottom, and it'll be on the end slide. This will be out on YouTube and then available as a podcast where you can subscribe through however you get your podcasts.
Awesome.
Is it okay if I take us out?
Michael,
Yeah.
thank you very much for doing this again. Good to see everybody.
Mando, season 1, episode 1, next week.
I can't wait. Can't wait.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Binging
y'all.
ahead.
Bye, guys. Thanks.